You are a couple who work together, who cook together, and so you figure out, this is your recipe, so you figure out how you want to read it.
Well, I have to say that I think what Mike can tell you why he chose this recipe, but I'm going to, if it's risotto, I'm definitely going to let Mike have it all to himself because it's the one thing I will say in the years of owning the restaurant, it probably took about 10 years before Mike would let anyone else cook risotto. For 10 years, he stayed at the risotto station. And he would expedite from the risotto station. He would do whatever he needed to do to be at that risotto station. Eventually, he felt comfortable turning it over somewhat. But risotto,
Okay.
there
we go.
It was a family member. It was my cousin who joined the team. So he took over on the pasta station the first, when we opened in 2003. But I think I had the first year of not letting anybody else cook pasta or rice in particular.
Oh, okay, quite right. So we edited it a bit. If anybody's listening to this recipe, I think this comes from River Cafe 30, but there is a difference between reading a recipe and listening to a recipe. So we've kind of got it back to the bare minimum, but you can elaborate on it. You can change it. I'd love to learn from you. So you do. Well, what is your recipe?
This recipe is zucchini and zucchini flour risotto, and it serves 6, and we have 18 torn zucchini flowers, 6 small zucchini, a liter of chicken stock, 150 grams of unsalted butter, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, finely chopped medium red onion, 300 grams of carnaroli rice, 75 milliliters of vermouth, and some Parmigiano Reggiano grattugiato or grated, some fresh basil to throw some Italian in there. So we slice the zucchini into discs, then we heat the olive oil on half the butter. We fry the onion until it's soft. Then we add the rice and we stir, and then we add the vermouth and stir that until it's absorbed. And then we're adding the hot stock and simmer, stirring until the rice has absorbed all the liquid. So ladle by ladle.
Do you have any advice for that when you're making a risotto?
I do.
And you're adding the stock, and you have the rice, and then you have the stock next to you, and it's very hot. Do you do it slower? Do you do that ladle by ladle absorb, or do you sometimes? Yeah. Do you follow the rules?
No, I get very particular with the entire process. Definitely. Your stock, probably the most important element is, simmering. It doesn't have to be at like a raging boil, but sometimes you'll look at a cook and, they either panic and, they run out of some and they just don't have the ability to like get the stock back up to temperature. So I use a timer too from the time that I toast the rice. I feel like the tostatura element, I go kind of like low and slow for like 4 or 5 minutes in the toasting. And then I think that takes the temperature a little bit down or the time period down but the most important thing is just, tasting it all the time, getting into a zone of this kind of like confidence zone that if you're kind of close, and then I think most of the common mistakes are like if you're adding, say, another element to it that's going to take the temperature down of the rice, that I right at that last second before the mantecatura, I for the adding the butter and the Parmigiano Reggiano, I definitely want the rice to be at a certain temperature, but then I let it sit for like at least 30 seconds or so, and then I'll add, whether it's the Parmigiano and the butter, I'll let it sit for like 30 seconds so it doesn't kind of break it, and then I'll stir it, and then but really tasting it all the time. So from the time it's toasted and when I'm deglazing, whether it's with vermouth or wine, I get into like a 12-minute zone of adding stock, but I absorb each ladle, and then with that last flourish, I really feel like if you're not, there's nothing worse than getting a rice that is like not hot.
I agree. Okay, so we finished? No, we have one more to go.
All right. We're adding the zucchini and the torn flowers. Now we're stirring in the remaining butter, the Parmigiano Reggiano, and the basil leaves.
Simple.
I was born in Maine, very, very, very northern Maine. Five
Yeah.
more minutes and I would have been Canadian.
Canada?
Yeah,
Yeah.
really right up
Yeah.
against the border. Um, but lived out of the country until I was about 10 years old. Moved back to the United States.
So where did
Moved to
when did you,
Massachusetts.
when you went out of the country, you went to Greece,
We
didn't
went to
you?
Greece,
I
yeah.
remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
Why?
My father came from a nautical background, and he ran a shipyard for Olympic yachts in Greece for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a pretty great childhood.
Did you go to Athens, or was it?
We were north of Athens, a small town called Kafisia, which was mostly an expat community. It's where a lot of the embassies are, and there were a fair amount of Americans there.
But you had Greek food.
All the time.
What do you
All the
remember?
time. Okay, well, here's a good one, I think. Greek Easter, Greek Orthodox Easter. The neighbors, we would all get together. We'd have a whole lamb, and you'd put it on the spit outside in the backyard. And then all the neighborhood kids had to take an
so nice.
hour. Like, it was their turn to turn the lamb on the spit, and everybody had a, slotted hour to
How many
turn.
hours did this
It was a lot.
cook for?
It was a lot. I mean,
That
it
was the
takes-
population
it was-
of this town.
It took the day, but
That's right.
yeah.
Well, that's what it should be. Amazing to be that. Yeah.
And the best thing, I don't know if the best thing is the lamb fat, the lamb
I
skin.
know, yeah.
So good
I
with the
agree.
salt and the
Yeah.
oregano.
That sort of crispy.
Yeah, that is
Divine.
just. I think that
Yeah.
is one of the most delicious bites you can ever have.
When we first met, she spoke about this lamb all the time, of mainly exactly what you described.
Yeah,
And
Uh,
did
the
you
crispy
do
skin.
cook it? Can you?
Yeah,
can
we
you
have
do
a,
that?
we have
Can
a
you
fireplace,
replicate?
and we'll cook whole animals and so forth, but
Yeah.
smaller spring lambs.
Yeah.
Around not as small as like a spring
As
lamb in say
fresh.
Italy, where they're expecting 5 kilos or something.
I know.
They don't really do that in the United States, so it's more of like maybe a little under 8 kilos, like maybe 20 pounds or something.
Those French lamb that you have also in France, I particularly had them there. What are the spring tiny baby lamb? I remember when my baby was born in France, Rue, we said, okay, we were coming home from the hospital. I said, I'll just stop at the butcher and get, leg of lamb. And it weighed the same amount as baby. I said, I don't think I'll take it. Like 3 kilos. I said, maybe we'll have fish tonight. It's a bit too close to home.
little-
but those
a little
baby,
too soon.
I sort of I absolutely love them. Went to France, especially to the south of France, to get the very small baby legs of lamb. Now I'm not sure I have the same taste for them because they're a little bit too young, a little bit too delicate. But they are still. They're very, very tiny, and they're good.
My memory, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was a kid, so I don't know kilos or pounds, but the lambs that we did on the spit were
Oh,
good
I'm sure.
size.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. The
Yeah.
ones, the ones that I'm thinking of, particularly it's
Yeah.
very, very short season and very, very young.
Yeah.
And you had them very, very pink.
Yeah.
No crispy skin or anything like that. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have those when
I
you
had
were in France?
an Italian woman who, before the restaurant started, when we were trying to fundraise to get money to start the restaurant, and she had a fireplace inside her house, and I think when she saw the size of the lamb, that it was probably like a 20-pounder. I saw like a tear coming down her cheek that it wasn't, the size that it was back in the,
Right.
growing up
right.
in Italy. And
Yeah.
so I learned my lesson very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.